Greetings, salutations, respect, and love. I am Scott, you, my dear little knucklehead. Oh, you know where you are. You're in the Prog Corner. And yes, your eyes do not deceive you, boys and girls. It is the one, the only, my honor to have Mr. Jordan Blum on board, sir. Oh, man, I've been wanting you on the channel for a long, long time. So thank you for agreeing to come on and do this episode with us. Good topic. This is your topic. How you doing today?
Good. Thanks so much, Scott, for asking me to be on. I've been watching your stuff for a long time. I know you're certainly, in terms of like the prog presence on YouTube, you're one of the big names, one of the big faces. So it's an honor.
That's right. Hey, according to ChatGPT, man, I'm number 3. All right. So who does that? Who looks themselves up? Who Googles themselves? Who knows? Who's got the #1 YouTube channel on you know? Oh man, I'm guilty as charged. But the topic today, little kiddies, Jordan came up with it. And if you're not familiar with this guy, now I've been knowing who Jordan Blum is for a very, very long time, man. I followed this cat from the days of Pop Matters and Progressive, and he's writing for Prog Magazine right now. If you want, his Prog bona fides, the guy's the real deal. And his content, as I was telling Jordan before we went live here, which we're not live, by the way. I'll post this tomorrow. But I was just telling him that my feed is getting blown up with his content. This guy knows his stuff. We are going to be talking about bands that are not enslaved to that 70s sound, right? And I think it's the perfect topic for this channel because, hey, let's be honest. All my favorite bands are like, either the original prog bands or the bands of today that kind of sound like those bands. Let's be honest here. But today we're going to break free a little bit from that, as evidenced by one of my examples is going to be Seven Impale. I love these guys, man. I think they're a perfect example of what we're talking about here today, where you're allowed to take a little bit from the 70s because I don't think you can escape it necessarily no matter what, right? I mean, even Bruno Mars and St. Vincent. I mean, come on, everybody's infected by the 70s to a certain degree.
Yeah, I mean, you even see that. What I've seen over the last few years is a surprising amount of like hip hop artists and rap artists.
Yeah.
Look towards like Jethro Tull or kind of moving more into the 80s, but like a lot of people are influenced by Kate Bush that you wouldn't expect.
Yeah.
And of course, like, I mean, I'm a teacher as well. And I've had so many students over the years who know Kanye West's song Power, and which samples 21st century.
That's right.
And they all, like, whenever I play that song, they think, oh, it's Kanye. I said, no, this is from 1969. He kind of took this.
Yeah.
So it's like like old school prog is penetrating kind of all genres almost.
It kind of is, and you go to a record store and stuff. It used to be if you were a certain age or younger, there's no way in the world that cat would have a prog record under his arm. But those days are gone, man. It seems like the vinyl resurgence has actually coincided with the prog resurgence, and that it's cool to listen to Yes and Genesis and ELP and that kind of stuff. We love that kind of stuff. But when you're talking about 21st century prog, right? Yeah. And I'm guilty as charged, man. I love Wobbler, who obviously owe a huge debt of gratitude to both Yes and Gentle Giant. I love a lot of that retro prog stuff. The Tangent, definitely indebted to all the Canterbury greats, like Hatfield in the North and whatnot. But, there are so many bands that are just not cookie cutter, right? That are doing some really interesting things. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that today. I've pulled a couple examples of bands that I think kind of break the mold, that almost kind of point the way to how prog could be. Do you want to start off with something?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think like when you define, like, you have progressive versus prog is too. But I've talked to so many people over the years about progressive rock, and they'll say, like, is it long song structures? Is it complicated time signatures? Or is it kind of rooted in the name progressive? And if by definition you're not progressing, you're repeating, are you progressive?
Yeah. It's the progressive dilemma, right?
Yeah.
Are you really progressive if you sound like a band from 1972?
Yeah. It's like, oh, but again, like as we were talking about before we started recording, like the two bands, real fast, the two bands that I would say are clearly like borrowing from old school stuff, but I would put their stuff up there with the originals is Beardfish and Fido, both of whom it's like if this stuff came out in the 70s, it would be right up there.
Yeah.
But for me, like the two bands that came to mind, I don't know if you want to do one by one or
go ahead. No, yeah, go with one.
Okay, so the first one that comes to mind is a band I'm sure some people have heard of, but not enough people. Is a Norwegian band called Gazpacho.
Oh yeah,
who are more like they define themselves, I guess, more as like art rock.
Yeah.
But I discovered them with March of Ghosts from 2012. I became friends with Thomas, the keyboardist, and I think main songwriter.
Thomas Alexander Anderson.
Yes, yeah, who's a very quirky, lovable guy. He's always fun to talk to.
Apparently, he writes jingles.
Yeah, like
full time.
Yeah, and I think all of them still have like kind of the more like conventional day job, which, you know, I mean, they deserve to be big enough that they don't need that, of course. But
well, yeah, the singer Jan Henrik Ome, he works for Sony.
Yeah,
Sony Norway.
Nice,
yeah. But this is the real deal. This band has connections, right? And they've but what's cool is they're like not afraid to be prog, yet at the same time they're not afraid to sound maybe a little more alternative and whatnot. They definitely march to the beat of their own drum. But you know it's them like within 2 seconds flat. I love it.
There's kind of like a classical symphonic like Baroque edge, but there's a little bit of like quirkiness. Even their new album Magic 8 Ball, which is fantastic, like they have a singular sound that goes throughout their albums. So like album to album they don't really shake it up too much, but they're so good at what they do. And I always thought, and I think Thomas even agrees with me, I think their best album is called Night, which is a 50-minute sequence about like loneliness and isolation. The transitions between the tracks alone like give me goosebumps.
Yeah, that's their best album, I think.
Yeah, it's one of the best albums I've ever heard, and like one of the most like emotionally powerful albums I've ever heard. And just his voice is like beautiful and just, I mean, it's hard to like describe in words. That's what part of what makes my job hard. But yeah,
but you do it so well, and honestly, that is why I started a YouTube channel, because there were cats like you that actually could think about something, like listen to music and somehow, you know, go to your typewriter and actually make it all make sense. I couldn't do it, man. I tried for a couple of years. And then I realized I was terrible at it. So I'm like, you know, I can like bloviate ad nauseum about just about anything, but when it's, you know, something really narrow like prog rock, I can do that. I can do that, no problem. So yeah, don't ever think that you have a problem putting your thoughts into
thank
words.
You. Yeah, thanks. And I think, like, again, as kind of the theme of the whole conversation we're having, like Gazpacho, obviously their stuff is like, it's sophisticated, it's quote unquote artsy, but it's not going for the virtuosic, like lengthy songs and trickiness. Because one of the things I think maybe I'm like an outlier in the community or a naysayer or whatever is, I always say like songwriting should come first, unless it's like an instrumental. So you can play all the tricky stuff you want and all the like out there arrangements and all, but like if you break down the songs to just the songwriting, the basic chords, is there something there? And I think with Gazpacho, everything they do enhances the songwriting. It never overshadows it. It's all about like the emotion that they're conveying, the storytelling, the metaphysical, like brainy stuff. Night does that extremely well. March of Ghosts, what's it called? Misa Atropos.
Yeah. TikTok, and you had Demons was really good. They're on a tear right now. Fireworker, from like 4 or 5 years ago. I thought that was a dynamite album too. So I think they're really on a hot streak here. The only one by them that didn't really stick for me was Soyuz. That one was a little bit of a bummer for me.
That one and Moloch.
Yeah, Moloch was all right too. Yeah, those two were kind of mediocre, but
and not to like toot my own horn, but since it's relevant, I was fortunate enough to do the press release, the biography for Fireworker. So I got to like interview Thomas, and I remember hearing the opening song and that like keyboard thing that Thomas goes into. You just have to hear like that keyboard pattern, and you get what Gazpacho does in that moment alone. It's just they're so special.
They are, and the new album, Magic 8 Ball, available now. It's unbelievable. I think I gave it a 9 out of 10. I think. Yeah, I really liked it. I thought it was great.
I think it's probably more consistent than Fireworker. I don't know if it's quite as like ambitious. So it's kind of like each their own. I think both of them are better than Soyuz and Moloch. But again, I always say like the weakest Gazpacho album is still really good. Like they don't have a bad album. It's just by comparison, this is the weakest or the weaker. But it's still like a 7.5 out of 10. It's just not the 9 or 10 out of 10.
Great band. And, they've got 10 albums out and people are still just now discovering them. I did my album review for Magic 8 Ball a couple of weeks ago, and I got a bunch of comments like, "Wow, I never heard of this band." I'm like, "Oh, wow."
Yeah.
We've got our work to do.
Yeah. I included them in my, I just had at Loudwire, the 11 best prog rock albums. I included that one. Right now I'm doing the best prog rock songs.
Yeah. So you did your prog metal already on that.
And now I have We Are Stranger going on this list. But it's so hard to pick like which song.
I had Starling.
Yeah, I mean it's so like it's like a hymn. It's very like spiritual.
I love it. That was my favorite track off the album, and I think I had that as my number 4 song of the year was Starling off of the Magic 8 Ball. Fantastic. I'm going to talk about a band right here that they don't get any kind of love. Nobody talks about them. They're on Glassville, so that probably doesn't help in the U.S. But apparently this guy, Vikram Shankar, he's put out 2 albums as Lux Terminus. Mm-hmm. Oh, man, I'm going to be beating the drum about Lux Terminus until people start listening to me. Because I got this, you know how it is. Everybody and their monkey's uncle wants you to review an album, right? And I got sent the files, and I'm like, okay, I listened to it once. I'm like, that's a bunch of racket, man. That's just a bunch of noise. Not my cup of tea at all. And then Roy from the Prog Report was like, you listen to that Lux Terminus? I'm like, yeah, it was all right. And he's like, dude, do me a favor. I've never done this before. Do me a favor. Listen to it again. And I did, and I'm like, oh man. It's just so crazy. It's so amazing. I've never heard anything like this before. I love players that can take their instrument to a different level, do something I've never heard before. I don't know how you make a keyboard sound like a Jinty guitar. I mean, what?
He's the man.
What in the world goes on there? Obviously, I'm not alone in my awe and amazement because he is the touring keyboard player for Pain of Salvation. And apparently he got himself, check it out. And apparently he got himself a new gig. Apparently he's a permanent official member of Within Temptation. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, he's going to be a super, super duper busy boy. So maybe we won't get a whole lot more out of Lux Terminus. But don't let me scare you off. Like if you're thinking it's like so heavy that, my crowd ain't going to like it. The melodies are there, right? It's just a lot of times the time signatures are so messed up and so wonky that it takes you a minute to get there. This album's got Ross Jennings on it if you want some vocals. It's got the girls from Aspera who are, I hope they're making some money from Ghost or Sleep Token, right? They're on the Sleep Tokens record. I hope they're making some money there because that would be cool. Yeah. But this proves that you don't have to sound like Emerson, Lake and Palmer if you're a 3-piece band that's keyboard, bass, and drums. And let me shout out the other 2 cats: Vikram Shankar on guitar, Matthew Kirshner on drums, Brian Kraft on bass. Kudos, my friends, for you to have a basic keyboard, bass, and drum configuration and to make it sound like no other band on planet Earth. Well done. Well done.
Yeah, I got to meet him a couple years ago. Pain of Salvation played in Philly, and I finally got to like shake his hand. And
cool.
He's also in a band with Tom England from Evergrey called.
Oh yeah,
he's kind of one of the. I think he's one of like the up and coming names in Prog that you'll see him on a lot of different projects. So,
if I have anything to say about it, he's definitely on the up and up. We're gonna make sure he's a big old Prog superstar. But he's one of those guys that they obviously have a love for 70s Prog, but it's buried deep. It's one of many influences. So that makes it infinitely cool and very listenable to me. Oh, all right. What do you have next?
Well, I was going to mention Pain of Salvation actually, but I'll save that because the next one, like the two bands I have on my list that I always like want to tell people to check out. One is Gazpacho, and the other one is a band that is so multifaceted that I don't even want to call them like Prog. They're called The Deer Hunter. They're the number one band. I for 15 years I've been saying like they're the most underappreciated band I can think of. Led by a guy named Casey Crescenzo, who came out of a band called The Receiving End of Sirens. They have a bunch of albums.
I love The Receiving End of Sirens. Yeah. I'm sorry. I love me some good emo. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. There's some really proggy emo out there.
Yeah,
The World is a Beautiful Place.
Yeah,
that The Hotelier, Joyce Manor. That's prog rock, man. They might not know it. They might be totally oblivious to it. But to me, to these ears, those bands are definitely prog. So
but no, I remember I must have been like 2010 hearing Act 1. Because if you guys don't know, the main thing is that they have 5 acts all connected to the storyline. And I remember hearing like the opening of Act 1, Badissimo del Fuoco, I think it's called, or Fuoco. It's like the vocal harmonies.
Yeah.
And then the last 2 act albums, 4 and 5, are more like vaudevillian, theatrical. But the ways in which like they repeat themes across albums and just the songwriting, his vocals are incredible. I think the Deer Hunter are just one of a kind, as much as you can kind of pull and like acknowledge different influences. But just the storytelling, the connections, the instrumentation, the influences, the way it'll kind of just go off into like a Beach Boys-esque like or Pet Sounds Smile kind of like harmony and just odd instrumentation, and not to keep using the word, but like Baroque instrumentation.
Yeah.
And then go into like a really heavy rock song, and then piano and female choir, and just the Deer Hunter, it's genius. And
I love Casey. Casey is one of those guys we were talking about. Those young cats. Hey, he's not that young anymore, but compared to like Rick Wakeman and Peter Gabriel, pretty young and doing doing some different things, man. You mentioned the ACT series, but I am a ginormous fan of the Color Spectrum. That whole thing he did. I thought that was absolutely genius. Migrant, I thought, was a brilliant album. And now he's on some different trip, right? He's got this new world he's into. I forget the name of that last album.
Something honorary astronaut, I think is something. And then the Indigo Child.
Yeah, that stuff. Yeah. I guess he's going to do another album down that vein, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. I want an Act 6, but
I want an Act 6 so bad. I mean, you mentioned 4 and 5 feeling maybe a little different, because to me 1, 2, and 3 were genius. I loved them. I loved them so much. At first, I was a little disappointed in 4, and everybody thought that was like the greatest thing he ever did. I've come around since. I was wrong. I was dead wrong about Act 4. But Act 4 and 5 do feel a little different. They feel a little bit more like kind of aware of the weight of what he was doing, was maybe getting onto him a little bit. So I think he needed something new.
I think Acts 1 through 3 are a little raw.
Maybe more emo. I don't know.
And 4 and 5 are a little more like, again, theatrical. Like you can picture them on a stage.
The vaudeville stuff. Yeah.
But I mean, one of my favorite like musical moments ever, and again, sending goosebumps like all over me, is when you get to the end of Act 5, a beginning, and it comes back to where A Moon Awake, and it's just like,
oh yeah,
I remember like it's one of those times where like the first time you hear it, you're like, is he going to do it? Is he doing what I think he's doing? And then it comes in and you're just like, this is incredible.
Yeah.
So
big fan.
The Deer Hunter, everyone should hear the Deer Hunter.
Yeah, big fan of the Deer Hunter. Cool stuff. And they just reissued Acts 4 and 5 and Migrant on vinyl with some really cool color gradients. Cool. And nice. Yeah, I need to get Migrant on vinyl.
Yeah.
I have 4 and 5, but I need that. Okay, you know, we're talking about different things that prog could or could not be. And I don't know about you, but you know, that whole so-called like windmill scene or what have you. Yeah, I guess I get it. They those bands kind of share some DNA or whatever. But one thing I will go to my grave saying is that it's 100% prog. And what are we talking about? We're talking about Squid and Black Medium, Black Country New Roads. And yeah, this to me is just a prog rock album. I love Black Country New Roads. The new one's good too, How Long Forever. But I miss Isaac, man. There's just something about the insouciance in which he delivers his lines. Like he just couldn't care less what you think. And I love that. It's kind of a Stephen Malkmus-y kind of approach to things. And what a brilliant band, what pure genius. But if you want to talk about geniuses within that sphere, you got to talk about Jordy Griep. Oh, man. I am a ginormous fan. I love all 3 Black Midi albums. And I think this new sound might be better than anything Black Midi ever did. So I think it's prog rock through and through. Yeah, you don't have a Mellotron and, 12-string acoustic guitars and flutes and, wild Moog solos. And you don't get any of that stuff with that scene. But what you do get is really intelligent music. Done in a forward-thinking way, throwing away the rule book and doing whatever the hell you want to do, because that's where prog and punk always intersected to me was, I don't care what you think. I don't care what the critics think. I don't care what anybody thinks. I think what I'm doing is good. I hope you like it. If you don't, too bad.
Yeah. I think the ultimate prog punk band is Cardiacs.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's the intersection.
Yeah.
But Black Midi are really interesting too. Again, just that's what it always comes down to me is what you're doing like interesting, even if I don't like it, even if it's dissonant.
Right.
Like it's that difference between you can acknowledge if you don't like, you can respect something and acknowledge that it's good, even if you don't personally like it.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
And, so like I like all that stuff. I'm just saying, like, I know a lot of people who can't separate, and it's like you can not personally like something, but still say what they're doing is valuable and novel. It just doesn't work for me.
Oh, yeah. And if you meet somebody that likes everything and gets everything, they're a liar. They just are. You can't like everything, So, I tend to talk about the stuff on this channel that I like and that I enjoy. And, I save all my venom for clickbait week. Which, guess what, boys and girls, is coming up soon. Oh, yeah, it is. It's been too long. It's time for a good clickbait week. I'm coming up with the titles as we speak, and I think I might do a series, right? Because I did 10 things I hate about Yes, like about a year ago. And then Andy Edwards, the cat Andy Edwards, he goes ahead and he does 10 things I hate about Yes. Doesn't even say, oh, yeah, I stole this idea from the Prog Corner. No, sorry, Bob. So I think I might just steal 3 or 4 of his episodes, just, note for note, word for word, just complete plagiarism. Steal the thumbnail, too, and just put my head in there. Just the full 9. Yeah, clickbait week. It's full-on war. The feud will be back. Maybe it wasn't as fake as I thought. But, yeah, I got the windmill scene as far as, looking at my brain wants to formulate stuff and codify things and organize stuff. And, I'm one of those guys, and I'm of a certain age where I'm a get off my lawn kind of guy. But to me, you had the first wave of prog. that lasted all the way up to maybe 79, 80, maybe 81. Then you had the second wave, the neo-prog wave with the Palace IQ, Pendragon, Marillions of the World. And then you get some nebulous third wave, which corresponds either to the rise of prog metal, right? Or with the rise of Scandinavian prog in the early 90s.
Yeah.
But either one, you have this simultaneous thing happening where progressive music all of a sudden wasn't a horrible thing. But, if the third wave started, let's say, in 92, then we're kind of overdue for a fourth wave, don't you think? And that's why I'm looking at some of these newer bands, some of these younger bands to provide just that. You don't have to sever everything you learned from before. No one's saying you have to, cut off all, influences from the 70s in order to be a cool band. Because obviously, I wouldn't be talking about half the bands I talk about if that were the case. But, there are some really, really cool bands out there doing some things that just don't sound anything like Yes. And that's okay.
Yeah, like you gotta be progressive. You gotta push it forward.
Yeah.
Or at least push it to the side in some way. Like just go off on a tangent, do something unique.
Oh yeah. Let's see. Oh well, I'm wearing the Seven Impale shirt. I need a fourth album from them. I am a champion of Seven Impale. I love their weird freak out jazz, King Crimson. I don't really understand them. And I think that's why I love them so much. There's a moment on this album, the last song called Sisyphus, where they decide to use white noise as an instrument. And it's just the most compelling thing I've ever heard. It just makes my ears prick up. And it's like, wait a second. You got bass, you got drum, you got keyboard, you got, what the hell is that? It's just amazing. Yeah. It's absolutely amazing. Seven Impale, so good. The keyboard player is playing in Enslaved now. So that's
okay.
Cool. So that's kind of cool.
Nice.
But Norwegian band, absolutely love them. Going to Sweden. Are you hip to Ghost of Berling Saga? Oh, this band's amazing. This is their 6th album. It's called Forever Now. And they're kind of a cross between krautrock, surf rock, Little King Crimson, maybe a little spaghetti western with a whole bunch of Tangerine Dream thrown in there. And it's like, what in the world? And it's all instrumental. So there's none of them fussy foreign vocals for my American audience. A lot of my, I love my foreign language stuff, but a lot of my audience hates it. A lot of my audience, like, if it's not in English, I don't want it. So you don't have to worry about that with Ghost of Berling Saga. They don't have any of those annoying Swedish vocals for you to deal with. It's all instrumental. And man, oh man, what a cool band. At moments, like I said, they do sound a little like 70s Crimson or Tangerine Dream. So, they're picking and choosing their 70s influences, but that's okay. As long as you're not note for note, word for word, man, that sounds like Peter Gabriel singing there. That gets a little odd sometimes. And I love my retro prog, but sometimes that gets a little much.
Well, it's like, can they take some influences and still filter it or like funnel it in a unique way? Yeah,
there you go. Yeah, because it's like I always mention Wobbler. Because they're my favorite modern prog band, and I say it proudly, but geez, they just sound a whole lot like Yes and Gentle Giant at times, but they have
is like sublime.
But they kind of have so much personality that they make it their own. Even though, every instrument is vintage from the 70s and all that stuff, like Lars Fredrik Frøsli has like this humongous collection. He's the guy he's not content just to have one or two Mellotrons. He needs to have a Chamberlain too, because, he's that guy. He needs that, all that vintage stuff. But, they're still able to filter it through their personality and their musicology and their musicality, rather. And it doesn't sound like it's from the 70s, even though it kind of does. I don't know. Yeah, it kind of doesn't kind of deal. I don't know. It's a weird thing about retro prog, and you were talking about the progressive dilemma, right? You got to be progressive, and maybe that's where the capital P comes in. If you're stylistically linked to Yes and Genesis and Emerson, Lake and Palmer and Jethro Tull, by the way, boys and girls, some people, know a little something about Jethro Tull. Sometimes I think I know enough to write a book about him. Hey, this guy did write a book about him. How about that? He knows a little something about his Tull. So,
and I have one of my more unpopular opinions about prog period is regarding Tull. I think to the point where even Ian Anderson, I think, very, very much disagrees with me. But I think that the best Jethro Tull album by a mile is A Passion Play. So many people hate that album. I think it's. Again, I always say Thick as a Brick walked so A Passion Play could run. Thick as a Brick is wonderful. It's easier to get into. A Passion Play is just deeper. It's more ambitious. It's more. It's on another level to me. But a lot of people not only disagree, but a lot of people think that's one of their worst albums.
Yeah, I was one of those people. Man, I was so into Thick as a Brick. Oh, back in the 70s, I loved Thick as a Brick so much. Aqualung and Thick as a Brick, man. Aqualung and Thick as a Brick. Yeah. And then A Passion Play comes out, and it's so excited. And then the hair and the spectacle thing. And man, that thing turned into a Frisbee really fast. I hated it. I just absolutely despised it. And it took me probably until about 10 years ago to realize the error of my ways, and that absolutely A Passion Play belongs in the holy trilogy of Jethro Tull records. I love Songs from the Wood. Don't get me wrong. I love the new stuff too. But, I think Curious Ruminant was a fine record. But there's a holy trilogy, and it's Aqualung, Thick as a Brick, and A Passion Play. But they kind of operate in totally different ways. Right. Yeah. To me, Aqualung is kind of that sludgy, ghost of the old Jethro Tull. It was still kind of bluesy and whatnot. But it was still kind of progressive. You could hear the progressive tendencies creeping up there, here and there. Mm-hmm. And then Thick as a Brick is just this perfect distillation of everything symphonic prog rock should be. And then you get A Passion Play, which is just, he wasn't satirizing anybody on A Passion Play. And you do hear a little bit on Thick as a Brick, okay, that's a nod here, that's a wink there. It's still perfect in every way. I give all three of those albums a 10 out of 10, by the way. But I'm with you on A Passion Play. There's something special and magical and unique and totally different that should be dark. That should be applauded. Oh, it's really dark. The story's dark. What? Dude, he's going to hell and stuff. I mean, it's a dark tale. So, but it's really interesting. It's really cool. It probably has some of Ian's best wordplay in it too. Oh yeah, fun. And
the second half of A Passion Play, I think, has their catchiest melodies. It's just one after another, just the catchiest hooks I've ever heard.
I love it.
Even if I don't quite understand what he's talking about.
Yeah,
it's I love singing this though.
And maybe as Americans, maybe that was part of the appeal of the British prog rock was, I don't know what he's talking about, but whatever. It sounds cool.
We were talking before about listening to music and it makes you go what the hell is this?
Yeah.
So I do have to shout out two bands, I guess, kind of together, because they kind of fall into a similar group for me. And one of them, I have to kind of tell the story. I'm not trying to throw shade at anybody, but the year,
do it. Yeah,
the year 2017. And Sons of Apollo, Mike Portnoy's band, one of many. I put on Sons of Apollo to review it for a site called Metal Injection, and I think this is very. How do I put it nicely? This is very much just doing very generic. You can copy this band, that band. But what's the point? You could do Guns N' Roses, but why? And then I get an album by, I believe, a Norwegian band called Major Parkinson called Black Box. And I'm driving back from teaching and I put on this, you know how it is. We get so many albums to listen to.
Yeah, I was just listening to Major Parkinson.
Yeah.
Woo!
And that,
Good band.
So even it's like as reviewers, even when we love what we're listening to, it's like the album of the week. We listen to it, we cover it. And so it's very rare for me for an album to really like stay in my rotation. But I put on Black Box, and I think it's brilliant. Like Black Box blew me away. Just like the way it repeats themes. The guy's voice is so like low. It's like a dark carnival. It's just like out there.
Yeah.
And then the album you just held up, the last one, goes in it's exactly what I think a band should do, which is it sounds like Major Parkinson, but it's drastically different from the last few because it's more like synth pop 80s, even though it's got like themes of depression. So it's not an album.
You can tell right from the album cover, it looks like what was that movie? To Live and Die in L.A.
Yeah.
It's got that look, so I knew it was not going to be Black Box or any of their earlier stuff.
And like they released the single Saturday Night, and like this is not what I expected, but that's why I think it's great. Is like this is what an artist should do, is like stay true to yourself to a degree, but like go out and do something new with it.
I just got the live album. I haven't heard this yet.
It's good. And
I'm excited. I'm excited to listen to it. I love some Major Parkinson. Yeah.
It's just so like interesting. And the album before Black Box, Twilight Cinema, is kind of like along the same lines. So Major Parkinson got a shout out. And then kind of similar, and this may be the most perfectly named band ever in terms of what they sound like, is a Swedish band called Diablo Swing Orchestra. What do they sound like?
Yeah.
Progressive metal plus swing plus orchestra. Like you know what they sound like by their name. And I remember hearing their third album, Pandora's Pinata. And it's a lot sillier, I think, than Major Parkinson. Like they are very different bands, but they both just kind of are just like, again, carnival-esque. It's just like Diablo Swing Orchestra obviously has a lot of swing and horns and male and female vocals. And there's some serious like acoustic songwriting and then some really wacky like danceable stuff. And there's the one song, I can never remember what song it is on Pandora's Pinata, but it starts with this like high-pitched, almost like chipmunk singing. And every time I hear it, it makes me laugh. And it's just like, this is so strange, but that's what I want bands to do, is just be weird with it. Like, do
they're
something daring.
They're a cool band. Every time I listen to them, I just feel like a surge of energy.
Yeah.
Which maybe isn't a good thing in my condition. You don't necessarily want to see Scott all excited. I mean, it's bad enough when I'm, just being calm. But yeah, I know what you mean. Those guys are awesome.
Like I heard somebody describe their new, like most recent album, which is like as like Looney Tunes, Prog, like Looney Tunes, and I'm like, I agree with you, and that it's like so cartoonish, and just like weird. But that's, again, it's progressive to me. You're doing something weird with it, and it's very polarizing. But you're an artist. That's what you should do, is take your audience somewhere.
And to a lesser degree, I think that kind of describes a little bit what Moron Police is up to.
Yeah.
I do hear sometimes I hear anime flashes in front of my eyes when I'm listening to their music sometimes. And, I hear some of that almost like video game kind of idea. And not 8-bit at all, like 108-bit, but... just a lot of different ideas floating around, and just a lot of information dense music going on there.
And like their album covers are so colorful. Like the album cover sounds like looks like the music sounds.
I had a lot of people complaining about their artwork.
Yeah.
That's AI. I don't know. Is that AI? I guess it's AI. I don't care.
It's not my battle to fight.
I love taking a stand on stuff, but I think people need to chill out about AI, man. You know how you can keep your job as a writer against the headwinds that is that monster known as AI? Write better.
Yeah.
That's it. It's simple.
That's what you gotta do.
The whole 400 monkeys on 400 typewriters banging away for 400 years will not give you the completed works of Shakespeare. Absolutely not. Not in 400 millennia would that happen. So, fear not. The only way for me to have a healthy YouTube channel, because let's face it, a lot of AI generated stuff, a lot of faceless stuff, where they can do some really great editing. Oh, and that's all AI. What's a little guy like me supposed to do in the face of it? Just do better. That's it. It's not complicated. I'm not worried about it. It's like people were worried about the printing press. Oh, that printing press. Oh man, that's gonna put the town crier out of business. Well, maybe it did, and maybe that's all right.
Yeah, people are always afraid of like the next new thing, and this. I mean, as with everything, there's pros and cons. I mean, as a teacher, there's advantages to like AI with essay writing. There's certainly disadvantages with plagiarism, and you're not learning how to write and think and all. But
yeah, but that's their problem. If they want to go out in the real world as a bunch of cheaters, that's on them. Yeah. They'll have to deal with it. Oh, wait a second. I cheated my whole way through college. No wonder my boss is firing me for incompetence. So maybe I shouldn't have done that.
That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, man. It's a wacky world out there, but I'm not worried about it, and I do worry about because I'm seeing I follow a lot of bands right on social media. I follow a lot of artists, and I'm seeing a lot of them lamenting and crying and whining, and the sky is falling, and
I think I know one person you may be talking about, but
the reality is what? Write better songs. You don't have to worry about the AI machines. You don't, man, because 100 monkeys will not ever come up with the completed works of Lennon and McCartney.
Yeah,
not going to happen. There's no way. It's impossible.
Well, there's even some artists that like. Again, I think like if anybody who knows my writing, who knows me, I think one of the good or bad things about me is I'm always kind of the naysayer. I'm always the one that will call an artist out for repeating themselves. And there's always that debate of like, well, what do you expect? They sound like themselves. Like, right. I'm not naming any names, but there are a few bands that I'm a fan of and a few artists I'm a fan of. But it's like, this is the 5th time you've made the same album. That's what you're doing. If it works, it works. But don't act like you're not. So that's what I would always say is like, try to do something new, something the AI can't copy.
Yeah.
Because like, sometimes I feel like the band themselves is kind of like plagiarizing themselves. This feels like an AI did it, but it's you guys. You're just making the same album you did for the last 15 years.
It's funny because I had somebody comment on, I was pretty excited when I found out that Mike Portnoy was back with the Neil Morris band. And funny, you weren't talking about Neil Morris, were you? But I was really, really happy about that. And I posted something about it. And people were like, man, I saw that. I thought it was an AI thing, because I listened to the song and, it sounded like Neil Morris. And I'm like, I think that's a little unfair, but I do get it. AC/DC suffer the same criticism, the Ramones, the list goes on and on. There's a lot of bands whose growth was extremely limited. They painted between the lines most of the time. And, that's fine if that's what the intention of what they're doing is, Every Holiday Inn needs a lounge band, man. Stay in your lane. You can pay the bills.
For me, it's like I don't begrudge anybody for making what works. I don't begrudge any fans for still liking it. I just always want to say to people who act like it's some brand new, like amazing. It's like you can still love this album, but do you really think this is that much different from what they did 5 times before? Like, don't act like it is. As long as you acknowledge that, like, this is the same meal you've gotten, by all means, love it. By all means, keep making it.
It's I'm with you 100%, and I think all musicians, every band has an insurmountable task ahead of them, and that's the 7-year rule. Because if you look at from Please Please Me to Abbey Road, you got 7 years of growth there. It's absolutely mind-blowing. And I know different times, things are different, but artistic growth is, quantitative sometimes. It just is. And the amount of growth that the Beatles showed in 7 years, and that should be the bar for every band. Look, you've got, from album 1 to album 2, come on, man. There's got to be at least a new wrinkle, right? Something new you're going to try. I would think. Wouldn't you get bored as an artist?
That's what I would think. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a cliche to say this, but I feel like the last big rock band, because people always say like rock is dead, like it's not, and it is, I mean, it is less popular. But the last band I can think of that really kind of had like a Beatles-esque jump was Radiohead between OK Computer and Kid A. It's like, I mean, how much more can you reinvent? I guess that's the challenge.
Well, there you go. I mean, there's your arc. You just mentioned it right there. Pablo Honey. I'll defend that album to the day I die. That is an outstanding album. The problem with Pablo Honey is the Benz came out.
The Benz is like their revolver.
And yeah, it is. It's their revolver. OK Computer and then OK Computer came out, and then Kid A came out, and then Amnesiac came out, and then Hail to the Thief came out, and it's just not fair to Pablo Honey. It's just not. No, Pablo Honey's amazing. I'm sorry. Yeah. Pablo Honey's 9.5 out of 10 for me. It just is. It's just amazing. But the growth there in 4 albums, their first 4 albums, man, that's what I'd like to see every band attempt, at least.
Yeah, it's really kind of hard to think of newer, at least like bigger, newer rock bands that have really, I mean, kind of the opposite effect I've seen is Muse, even though Muse kind of started out, similar to other groups, but I think Muse has gone downhill. They've evolved, maybe devolved. So they've changed, but
Muse is a tough case, right? I mean, because they cut their teeth doing some really progressive rock Rachmaninoff on steroids kind of thing. And I was all about it with the Tom Yorke kind of vocals and and then the falsetto that was driving his record label crazy. They kept telling old Matty boy, you keep singing like that, you ain't selling no records. And he kept saying, you know what? I don't care. That's what I do. And he was right. They were wrong. Imagine a record label executive being wrong about art. Wow. Muse were absolutely amazing. They were so good. Where do you draw the line? When did they start sucking, man? I mean, because I kind of like all their albums, but to me, the sweet spot is Origin of Symmetry and Absolution.
Yeah, I mean, Black Holes, Resistance. I remember hearing the second Law and not really liking it, and then Drones, I think, was the next one. And then I was just, to me, it's like, and this is again maybe another like controversial opinion I have, and I've warmed up to them more, but to me, like Genesis died with like Abacab, if not Duke. So to me, it's like Muse is dead to me. Yeah. Once they went too much into that commercial like pop stuff.
Well, you can't really go back. You can maybe take that sidestep, right? You can do that one venture into synth pop, and then I'm sorry, we blame the cocaine. It wasn't me. Whatever. It's a contractual obligation thing, boys and girls. Don't worry, that's not really us. But if you do like a few crappy commercial albums in a row, let's face it, you're never going back to any good music. You're just not. There's a point. There's like this weird point of no return. Once you step over the edge, you're done.
And as I was saying before, like I'm not coming at it from any kind of place of entitlement. Like as we both know, speaking to musicians, like I cannot stand the parasocial. Like you didn't make an album I like, so I'm not listening. As if the band cares. So I'm not at all coming at it from that perspective. Do you? But personally, here's where I fall off. But I'm not saying like I'm not like closing my arms and saying you're no longer what I want or anything. It's just to me. This is where I stop, but by all means, keep going with whatever you want to do.
We're talking about bands, artists that are just breaking the mold, not doing the same old thing over and over again. And, it got me thinking about what bands in the future could do. And, we kind of have a little soapbox here, it's nice to have just this tiny little bit of influence in the world. And I utilize it to my very utmost. I absolutely do. And here's my suggestion to all you bands out there. In this era of file sharing, you look at where prog is right now. It's not that different from where jazz was in the 50s, just in terms of its impact. It's scratching the surface. It's, it's kind of a niche thing. And but everybody was playing with everybody, right? If you picked up a jazz album from that era, it's like, okay, this cat played with that cat. In the era of file sharing, you're seeing a lot of that already happening with the guest singers, or, you're able to file share. So you're able to get, pretty much anybody you want on your album. But, I was listening to a lot of Sparks over the weekend. And remember, they did that album with Franz Ferdinand? Mm-hmm. That's what bands need to do more often. Collide, just two bands become one just for one album.
Except for Metallica and Lou Reed.
No, I mean, Lulu was just awful, man. Lulu was just terrible. But in 2018, there were two bands, French, I guess they're more or less Rio bands, one called Poil and one called Ni. And they decided to join forces for one album, call themselves Pineal, and the album is Brand Cuckoo. Look at that. Look how beautiful that is. Mm-hmm. So the bands are basically a guitar player, a bass player, and a drummer. And one of the bands has a keyboard player. So they basically operate, one band's in the left channel. The other band's in the right channel, and the keyboard player is split right down the middle. And this thing is just absolutely brilliant. It's everything King Crimson Thrak wished it was, because that's just a chaotic mess. Still a great album. I love King Crimson can do no wrong in my book, but it's still a chaotic mess. Whereas that Pineal Brand Cuckoo album from 2018, actually my favorite album from that year. Because I had never heard, well, that's not true. I'd heard Thrak. I was going to say I'd never heard anything like it. Yeah, I had heard something like it. But it was done like way better, and just something that I wish, it got me thinking. I wish more bands would do that. I mean, maybe not necessarily left channel, right channel. You don't need to hard pan, that to that degree. But it's kind of cool if you do. So I want to see more full-on collaborations, right? Not just like a split LP like Giorgio and Breidablik did this year with Contraster, where you had I get side A, you get side B. Oh no, my friend, we're playing together on both sides, and just see what happens. And that's where magic can happen sometimes, right? Those one-off experiences. So I say let's see more of that in the future. That's my call for the future of prog. And another shout out. You know why? Because we're talking about bands that aren't living in the 70s. Another record I've been listening to a whole bunch, Jordan. Are you up on Moon Letters out of Seattle?
No.
Oh, this is
a whole bunch of stuff here.
Oh man, this is a band called Moon Letters. Their third album, This Dark Earth. And they sound a little bit like if like some of the West Coast freak out stuff, like Frank Zappa, went to Seattle and hung out with some grunge bands, and then flew out to LA, to go back into that scene and deal with the Whiskey A Go-Go, and then you're in London and you get a little of the prog itch. And then you go back to Seattle and do it. I don't know, man. Just listening to their music is like a whole adventure. And I hear elements of 70s prog, but the guitar tones and the keyboard tones are very modern. So it's almost like retro prog done without that retro brain. Kind of the opposite of Wobbler, which is like, okay, everything sounds exactly like 70s prog, but it kind of doesn't yet. These guys don't sound anything like 70s prog yet. They really kind of do too for some reason. Yeah, absolutely. Led by the great Michael Troop, a fantastic vocalist who has worked with my beloved Samurai of Prague. Big fan. I always love to say that name. The worst name in the history of music. Can you believe, Jordan, can you believe there's a band out there called the Samurai of Prague and they say it with a straight face?
It sounds like you're describing yourself not naming yourself. Like, we're the Samurai. Yeah, but what's the band called?
No, they're so great. I've had them on the show before, so I'm allowed to make fun of them. You see, that's what happens when English is not your first language. They're Finnish Italian. They're from Finland and Italy. So
that's a combo.
And they
important Prague places.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know, I just did my Prague Olympics. That just posted yesterday, boys and girls. Go to my page and check that out. I'm not going to give any spoilers because you would think you would know automatically that the UK wins the gold medal, but not so fast, boys and girls. We're looking at the entirety of the Prague canon, right? From the 60s all the way to today. And does the UK still? I mean, obviously, early days, the UK was the best. But I don't know. Lately, it's Scandinavia has been kind of killing it. Norway and Sweden are just dominating things for me. So
that's what I found is a lot of my favorite modern stuff is from like Norway or Sweden or Finland.
Oh, the Finland scene is strong too. It's amazing. So much great music happening right now. You know, I believe we are in a new golden era, Jordan.
Yeah.
I really think we are. And part of that is the connectivity of the internet that, you know, if you're a band in Estonia or Uzbekistan and you don't suck, people are going to find you, right? People are going to find your band. They're going to learn to love your band, and we can talk about your band. So, you know, the internet is a big, big help to our beloved genre. But yeah, man. So it's going to be an interesting 2026. Do you have any predictions? Any hopes and dreams or anything you're looking forward to in 2026?
I'm actually working on a list now of most anticipated, but the only one I really know is coming out is the Neil Morse Band album.
Well, there's two big ones coming out in February. You've got the Neil Morse Band with their new concept album, their double album LIFT, which will be available on Inside Out Music. And also, you've got that great international act known as Big Big Train putting out their new album, their first concept album, in fact, called Woodcut, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, man, the singles sound really, really good. So I've got two things I'm really, really excited about. And I'm hearing rumors of a new Yes album this summer. And John Anderson said there was going to be a new John Anderson and the Band Geeks album for 2026. So.
Yeah, I think I did see that.
Yeah, so I've got four right, and who knows? Wobbler might put a new record out. Ritual might put a new record out. Oh man, who knows? Who knows? It's all that's
endless.
That's the fun part about it. You know, when a new year begins, I'm always like, who's going to sneak up and surprise me this year? It's always somebody, you know, some band that maybe I'd heard of before, but not really given the time of day to, or maybe just some band that came out of the woodwork. There's always somebody that sneaks up, grabs my attention, and that's exciting, you know.
Two I'm hoping for. I have not heard anything. I have no insider knowledge. I've not heard anything, but I'm hoping for a new Pain of Salvation. And I'm hoping for a new Arion album because I love Arion.
What do you think of the Arion Anthony Lucasen solo album?
It was good. I liked it. I mean, I don't think it's as good as Lost in the New Reel.
I thought it sounded just like Lost in the New Reel. I thought they sounded very similar.
I do. I think I like that one more. I mean, I like both more than Transitus.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, the peak of like the Human Equation is in my top 5 prog metal albums of all time. Probably 0-1, probably up there too.
Yeah.
And then like the last, like I wasn't a big fan of the Road Salt albums for Pain and Salvation, but I thought their last two kind of went back to like the initial stuff. And I have them on my list for tonight too, of just prog. There should just be another list, prog metal bands that don't copy Dream Theater.
Yeah.
Because like nothing against Dream Theater, it's just like they set, you know, they were the first kind of real prog metal band.
Yeah.
For all intents and purposes. So it's like prog metal bands that don't just kind of do what Dream Theater does. And Pain and Salvation, I think, are absolutely up there with just like the melodic fluidity and just how like melodies interweave. And it's hard. It's kind of, again, hard to describe, but there's just something about them.
How long has it been since what Panthers was the last album, right?
2021, I think.
Oh, man.
And then Passing Light of Day, which I think is great. And I think I almost spoiled the reveal of that one because I interviewed Daniel before it came out. And as we were talking, I said, I feel like I'm hearing somebody chant ending theme at the end of that. I said, is this Remedy Lane Part 2? And he said, yeah. I was like, oh, okay. I got it before anybody else did.
Nice. Oh, what a great record that is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, hopefully there'll be some news on Pain of Salvation front. But in the meantime, hey, we just hit the 1 hour mark. So I feel comfortable at the 1 hour mark. And you know what else I feel comfortable about doing, Jordan? It's breaking every single rule they teach you. I watch hours and hours of these tutorials. They're like, never telegraph the ending. No, don't do that. You that sound you just heard, boys and girls, that was the sound of you losing 65% of your audience right there. Oh, yeah. So you know what we do to counteract that, Jordan? Well, before we do that, everybody that watches this channel knows exactly what's about to happen. That's why they watch all the way to the end. They want to see Scott freaking out with venomous snakes. That's what they want to see. So what are you working on? Recap the people. What should they be looking out for coming from you here in the next week or so? You're working on the best prog rock songs of 2025, right?
Yeah, so every week I have a list for a website called Loudwire. Usually it's progressive stuff. I'm kind of like the prog guy over there. So now I have the best prog rock songs of 2025 that I'm working on that'll come out on Monday, and then the upcoming 2026 ones. I just reviewed an album called by Galosphere 347 for Prog Magazine.
There's a new one?
Yeah, it's called The Syntax of Things.
Nobody tells me anything. I love that first album.
Well, like a big part of my review was that the first album was just the 3 songs, and it's much more like symphonic, kind of rock.
Yeah. That's why I loved it.
Yeah, this one is a little bit more, but this one to me sounds a bit more like if you took some of that, combined it with like Tim Bowness's like wistful songwriting and a little bit of like Trick of the Tail Genesis.
Okay.
So it's less like progressive symphonic. It's more like soft spoken.
That sounds like it might be more up their alley anyway.
Yeah, again, it's what bands should do. It's like this sounds like your first album enough, but it's not a repeat. It's doing something else with it.
Well, there you go. You heard it here. Apparently not first. I like to be able to, be the first to know stuff. But thank you, Jordan, for that. Anything else?
I also write for, outside of like, even though I do some music stuff sometimes, but outside of that, I write about movies and video games for a website called What Culture. That's also a YouTube channel. So I'm working on like horror movie lists over there. Usually that's always fun to kind of take a break from the prog world anyway.
Oh, wow. So what's that YouTube channel? You just woke me up.
Oh, YouTube channel is called What Culture.
Okay. Cool.
And it's like usually horror or What Culture gaming are the 2 ones that I usually do. It's fun.
YouTube's kind of my hobby, so I like to check out lots and lots of YouTube channels, see what's going on, see what works, see what doesn't work, pick up pointers from the experts and whatnot. Jordan Blum, you've been an excellent guest. I cannot believe that we're 63 minutes into this thing, and I feel like we've only scratched the surface. We could probably go on and on and on about it. And we'll definitely have to have you back on the channel very, very soon. This was great. But anyway, boys and girls, I love you guys. Tune in when tomorrow, I think, probably. I don't know when I'm going to post it, but I am going to be doing my top 16 non-prog albums of 2025. Why, you ask? Because man cannot live by prog alone. You know better than that, clown. You know exactly how it is. I go to your house. I go to look through your record collections. Don't lie, sucker. You got some ABBA in there. I know you do. You got some Carpenters in there or some such thing. Don't lie. You know it. I know it. Anyway, I love you either way. Peace in the Middle East, free Tibet, free the Ukraine, free your mind, free beer, free Willie and God, save King Chucky. Oh, yeah, that kitty cat wants to save King Chucky. I heard he's not doing so good, Jordan. Oh, yeah, he's got problems with his family. Oh, that poor king. And that cancer might come back at any time, so come to America, Chuck. Oh, yeah, come to America where we got thoughts, prayers, spells, incantations. We're going to drink poison. Oh, and we're going to dance with venomous rattlesnakes. Oh no. Look out, Jordan. They're going to go. Oh, no. They got me this time. Until next time, boys and girls. Peace.